Papillon. The name means butterfly and refers to the fringed mobile ears that are one of the distinguishing characteristics of this breed. Although the Papillon was first introduced in the 16th century, the erect ear of most modern-day Papillons is a 19th century development. You'll be seeing many of these delightful dogs during this tape. Some of them are outstanding examples of the breed. Some of them are less so, but they'll all help you to understand the special characteristics of the breed. When the tape is over, you should go back and review any individual section. Now let's begin. The Papillon is an elegant little dog, outgoing, intelligent, and friendly. He is not a fragile toy dog and should not be confused with either the long-haired Chihuahua or the Japanese Chin. In general appearance, he should exhibit a fine boned structure, light and dainty. His most distinguishing feature is, of course, his lovely butterfly-like ears. Lively, gay, curious, the Papillon should greet strangers eagerly and alertly, with tail and ears held up. His friendly temperament makes him an ideal companion dog. Let's consider the Papillon in more detail, starting with the head. The head is small, with a skull of medium width, slightly rounded between the ears. There should be a well-defined stop where the muzzle joins the skull. The muzzle itself is fine, abruptly thinner than the head and tapering to the nose. The length of the muzzle from tip of nose to stop should be about 1/3 the length of the head, measured from the tip of the nose to the occiput. Although the head is small, it should be in proportion to the rest of the body, as seen on this dog. An overly domed skull, or one that's too wide between the ears, or a muzzle that's too short or too wide, tend to exaggerate the head. This dog's skull is too domed. This dog has a good head, rounded but not exaggerated. This immature Papillon lacks underjaw and sufficient stop, giving the muzzle a snipey appearance. Here, on the other hand, we see a muzzle that's too blocky. And here's an example of a proper muzzle. It's in correct proportion to the head and is fine and tapered without being snipey. Trimming of whiskers is optional. The nose is black, small and rounded, and should be slightly flattened on top. This dog has a good nose. The nose must be black. Any other color is considered a serious fault and should be severely penalized. The Papillon's eyes should express his outgoing, inquisitive nature. They should be dark and round, but not bulging, and of medium size. The inner corner of the eye is on a line with a stop, and the eye rims should be black. Here's a dog with good eye placement, size, and expression. The eyes are set deeply enough into the skull to avoid a pop-eyed appearance, and they're round. Oval or almond-shaped eyes are not desirable. The Papillon's mouth should exhibit tight, thin lips, black in color. When the jaws are closed, the tongue should not be visible. The teeth should meet in a scissors bite. An overshot or undershot jaw is considered a fault. This dog's jaws are long and wide enough to allow for the correct scissors bite. Also notice that the pigment of the eye rims, nose, and lips is the same, black. The Papillon's distinctive ears are of two types: the erect ear, seen here on the left, and the drop ear, or phaline, on the right. These are good examples of both ear types. In both cases, the ears should be large with rounded tips. Notice how they're set low on the sides of the head and toward the back of the head. Let's consider the erect ear first. You can see that the ears are carried obliquely, and when the dog is alert, each ear forms about a 45-degree angle to the head. They move like the spread wings of a butterfly, and the leather is strong enough to keep the ear erect. Ears that are set too low, as we see here, also take away from the desired balanced look of the head. This puppy's ears, on the other hand, are set too high. They form more than a 45-degree angle to the head. Although these ears are properly placed and are of good size, their pointed tips lend a foxy appearance to this dog's expression. Pointed ears are considered a fault. Papillon ears are active and mobile, especially when the dog is excited or when he is in motion. You may also notice that as the dog moves at faster speeds, he may pull his ears back and rotate them. This is normal and should not be considered a fault. Here's another example of proper ears, well placed with a pleasing fringe. Faline, or drop ears, are similar in shape to the erect ears, but they are carried drooping and must be completely down. Although faline ears are carried folded over, they should never be houndy in appearance. This dog has proper ears of the faline type. Remember that faline and erect ear paps are shown together. Ears which are only partly down are faulty, as are ears that are small or set too high. One ear up and one ear down is also faulty, and pointed faline ears are just as faulty as pointed erect ears. Now, let's evaluate the Papillon's neck. The neck should be of medium length and in balance with the rest of the body. See how the length of the neck contributes to the elegant appearance of the dog. How would you judge this dog's neck? It is too short. You can see how even on an otherwise well-constructed animal, a short neck detracts from the desired elegance, which is so distinctive to this breed. The body of the Papillon is slightly longer than it is high, as measured at the withers. He is not a cobby dog. The top line is straight and level. The chest is of medium depth, with well-sprung ribs, and the belly is tucked up. Here's a dog with a well-proportioned body. You can see that the Pap is not a square dog. He's longer than he is tall, without appearing too long in body or too short in leg. This dog does have a square appearance. The body is too short, being nearly equal in length and height. This dog appears too long due to profuse feathering. How would you evaluate this dog's body? It is well proportioned and appears to have the desired level top line. But watch what happens when the handler traces the top line. This underscores the need for a hands-on examination. What about this top line? It is roached, which is faulty. The top line should be straight and level, as seen here. Also note the good proportions on this lovely puppy. The chest reaches to the elbows. The ribs are well sprung, without creating a barrel-chested appearance, and the tuck-up is moderate. Now, let's consider the Papillon's forequarters. The shoulders are well developed and laid back to allow freedom of movement. Forelegs are straight, fine-boned, and slender. Removal of the dew claws on the forelegs is optional. The length of the upper arms and the shoulder blades should appear approximately equal to one another, as they do here, indicating proper front assembly. Notice how the pasterns are short, straight, and strong. Here, however, we see an example of pasterns that are too weak. In this front view, you can see that this dog's legs are part of a clean, straight line from shoulder to foot. There's no suggestion of bowed or bent legs. The Pap's hindquarters should be well developed and well angulated, with hocks turned neither in nor out. The hind legs are slender and fine-boned, and should be parallel when seen from behind. Note that dew claws on the hind legs must be removed. The Papillon's hindquarters should allow the dog to move with a flexible, flowing gait. Good angulation and short, straight bone from hock joint to ground means there'll be plenty of drive from the hindquarters. You can see how this dog's properly developed hindquarters push him forward in a flexible, flowing stride. This dog, however, shows nearly straight stifles, which could result in a stilted gait. And here we can see an example of high hocks. This dog has the desired rear assembly. The Papillon's feet are thin and elongated, pointing neither in nor out. The Pap has true hare feet, as we see here, dainty, thin, and long. Be aware that while the hair on the dog's feet adds to its hare-footed appearance, it should never camouflage the outline of the foot. Feet which are not straight, but are pigeon-toed or turned out, are not correct. Cat feet or splayed feet are also faulty. Besides its ears, the Pap's tail is another of its distinctive features, an indicator of its happy, outgoing nature. The tail should be long, set high, and carried well arched over the body. The plume may hang to either side of the body. The proper set of the tail depends on a correct back and croup. This dog, with its correct level back, has a correct tail set. But this dog shows a low tail set, accentuated by a steep croup. What about this dog's tail? It lacks the proper arch, so that the tail is carried like a flag, which is undesirable. Here's an example of a good tail. It is well arched over the back, with the plume cascading to one side. Or the plume can split and fall to both sides, as we see here. Either is considered correct. The coat of the Papillon has a shimmering quality that reinforces the butterfly dog's image. The coat should be long, abundant, fine and silky, flowing and straight, with a resilient quality. There is no undercoat. It should lie flat on the back and sides of body with a profuse frill on the chest. The hair is short and close on the skull, muzzle, the front of the forelegs, and from hind feet to hocks. Ears are well fringed, with the inside covered with silken hair of medium length. The backs of the forelegs are covered with feathering, which diminishes to the pasterns. The hind legs are covered to the hocks with abundant breeches. The hair on the feet is short, although fine tufts of hair may appear over the toes, forming a trimmed hare foot. You'll find that the amount of ear fringe will vary considerably from dog to dog, depending on color, age, or condition. But even though the fringing adds to the overall butterfly appearance of the ears, you should not judge a dog solely on the amount of fringing. All the dogs in this group have acceptable ear fringing. Furnishings on the legs and tail are essential to maintain the overall appearance or balance of the dog. You'll find that the length of the coat will vary depending on age, color, and condition of the dog. These dogs all have acceptable coat length. And as this dog moves, you can easily see the flowing quality of the coat. The Papillon's coat is always parti-colored, that is, white with patches of any color. The size, shape, placement, or absence of patches on the body are without importance. Although the Pap may be of any parti color, nose, eye rims, and lips must be black. There is no preference among colors. The head markings are especially important because they can affect the butterfly symmetry. Here's a dog with a well-marked head. You can see how the nose band and the band and the evenness of color over the ears and down over the eyes and face create a balanced appearance. This dog with no blaze, as well as this one with very little blaze, and this one with an asymmetrical blaze, all have acceptable markings. However, a perfectly symmetrical, clearly defined blaze and noseband, like this, are preferred if you're considering dogs equal in all other respects. This pleasing head has distinct and symmetrical markings, but the wide blaze can be deceiving, making the skull appear wider than it actually is. Judges should be wary of this. Any nose color other than black and a head without the essential colored markings around the eyes and the ears should be severely penalized. A slight extension of the white collar onto the base of the ear, seen here, or a few white hairs interspersed through the color should not be penalized as long as the butterfly appearance is maintained. However, the white on this dog's ear extends far beyond the base and is considered a mismark. Mismarks should be heavily penalized. An all-white dog, or a dog with no white, should be disqualified. Remember that head markings outweigh any other color considerations, but overall type, balance, and structure are to be considered most important. Now, a word about height. The height at the highest point of the shoulder blades should be 8 to 11 inches, with the weight of the dog in proportion to its height. You can see the height difference between these two dogs, the 8-inch on the left and the 11-inch on the right. This is a considerable height range for a toy breed. You may see a judge measure a dog who appears to be at the upper end of the range. The important thing to remember is that a pap should never seem heavy or coarse. Any dog over 11 inches should be faulted, and any dog over 12 inches should be disqualified. The Papillon's gait should be marked by proper reach and drive, in keeping with its structure and spaniel origins. The gait should be free, quick, easy, and graceful, never paddle-footed or stiff in hip movement. Coming towards you, a dog with proper gait, like this one, tends to converge towards the center of gravity, while the legs remain straight. There is also a straight column of support from hip to hock when the dog moves away. This happy Papillon's front movement is incorrect. You can see the wasted motion as the legs lift too high and swing out and around instead of reaching forward. Here is the proper Papillon gait from the side. Notice how the top line remains firm and level. And don't forget the tail, carried arched over the back. Friendly, elegant, and eager to please, the Papillon continues his delightful centuries-old role as the butterfly dog.